Uh,
It's so bizarre that you're sick too, Bowen. It's like you should know I feel no pity for you at all. Like I'm sick, but I'm in cold Austria and I see the sun blazing through your windows back there. I know if you just went out there, you could go surfing now.
well, it's 59 degrees here at the moment. Like in the house, it's a couple of degrees cooler than that because like the heater wasn't on. But yeah, it's a lot colder where you're at, I'm sure, for sure.
Oh, that is really cold for California.
Yeah, it's been pretty chilly, like, but you could still surf in a wetsuit.
Oh yeah, I mean I spent Christmas time in LA once. It was just awesome. I was really digging the like short pants and shirt because in the sun it starts to get very warm.
True. Let's see.
Well, hey guys, you guys ready to start the show?
Yeah, just chit-chatting here.
Of course, of course. Well, cool. Let's start with what you guys are up to this week. Who wants to start?
I guess I could start. On top of all of the normal regular security guard stuff, which really isn't all that much, I've been watching the DAP slowly get a little bit better, and started again with the social coding roll call, which is, I think, in my milestones and stuff. Going over some hackathon information, reading up on the token bonding curves, and doing a lot of talking with people about. Well, I've done a lot of talking with Josh about Odyssey, and he gave me a bunch of stuff to read, and looking forward to ETH Denver, I guess. And my only distraction is that aforementioned phone call and finishing the Lumio. So with that, I guess I'll hand it over to Josh.
So I'm just trying to get a notes template up. So my distraction is the notes template. Perfect, I can copy that, brilliant. My distractions, the distractions of the note template, my intent is to have a good meeting, inform people of movements, and forget that. Then the things I've done, just let me have a check. There's been a lot of kind of GovLabby stuff with K, I guess. I've relayed with Bone over Odyssey stuff. I've just spent a whole load of time just talking to everyone about the Odyssey stuff and just trying to get everyone to link up and talk to each other and co-create, basically. Because my belief is that if we all, this is the evolution of trust game that someone shared with me previously. This is an entity that wants to play the best way possible, which is by trusting each other and playing nice. So if we reciprocate and play that game, we're all playing happy families and we ultimate win all the way to the end. So I'm just trying to get as many people in on that vibe as possible so that we can all hopefully share each other's platforms and goals, because we all have the end goal of wanting to sustain the commons, I think. So that's my stuff. I shall pass it over to Griff. Hasn't had one early. Well, let's break the pattern.
Yeah. I took my first vacation in a long time this week, so yeah, it was pretty nice. Just saw lots of hot springs and enjoying northern Thailand. Now I'm in Bangkok and have spent a lot of time actually on IDEN 3, working with our funder here to do some issues, to work on some issues, but still found some time to work on the DAP vision document a little bit. See, definitely testing the DAP, making DAP issues, and working with RJ on a few issues. And let's see, not a whole lot else. I'm talking to somebody who was part of the Aragon DAC that looking to try to get funding, or sorry, to maybe potentially be a dev for us. So that would be cool. And coordinating with some of the other Aragon DAC stuff to like figure out funding for some of the things we need, like status liquid funding on Aragon and enabling DApp-DAO interactions for Aragon DAOs to interact with the DApp. But for the most part, it's been a pretty light week. So yeah, and I'll pass it to I guess Gustavo.
Yeah, guys. Well, hello. I'm pretty new around this community. I've been shooting around these past, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm currently focusing to help a local NGO here in Spain to build up a DAC around artistic pieces, let's say NFT tokens, and I've been also working with guys in Radic Arts. Gustav I think he was like the product owner or product lead for the Crypto Christmas. Dab is also giving us a hand there. We're still in, let's say, in an evaluation phase to see if there will be any sense to build up at EC around that. In the meanwhile, we are just willing to integrate the artistic pieces and the charity organization, it's called Connected Cultures, with that application. And I guess next week in Naracon, we will discuss closely around that. And for the moment, just looking forward to get familiar with the stuff that you're doing around, basically.
Nice. Well, thanks for coming, man. And I think that's everyone, right? So then,
I did stuff.
Oh, you didn't? So excited, did you not go?
No, I didn't. It's okay. I'm fully attentive here, like no distractions. I think there has not been a note taker appointed. Like there's one little thing, we should maybe make a rule that if it's a fireside chat, we don't need note taking. But so what I did was actually lots of ping pong with Josh, like GovLab and Lorelei. GovLab is really taking off, and like in preparation for Archon, it's very interesting to go that deep into research, and we are really reworking all the whole organization that goes into the documentation of our experiments, and we are kind of in the middle now to rework our decision-making process, at least formalize it, make a full framework out of it, so we can be more. So we can have something that we can share with the world that can be adopted as a blueprint and help organizations that come after us that need decentralized decision-making, the first thing, to copy. To that end, because governance in our digital age with our tools is not just theory and thinking about it and practicing that, it's also running some cool software that actually makes the job easier. And I finished my lab server now, so we can run all kinds of self-hosted stuff now for pretty much free, or not the usual $10 a month that adopting one service would cost us. So there's room here for experimentation. So if you find some software you think that's awesome and cool and you would like to try it but don't know how, send it to me. One of the first ones I set up was actually a Jupyter hub for Jupyter notebooks to help the token bonding experiments of Jeff on a hardware support level. And I don't understand my last note, probably because I wrote it while somebody else was talking. I don't know. So I did something else, but I forgot what it is. That's cool. Nice. And my intention for the meeting are nice meeting. Let's have a nice meeting.
Yeah, I think it will be a fun meeting. In fact, it's one of those ones that we haven't had in a while where we can actually build the agenda at the beginning. I used to love when we used to do this. But does anyone have any topics that they want to discuss during today's meeting?
I'd like to talk about triads, or chords, as me and Kay were talking about a minute ago, which is a work formation of sorts, and see whether we can get extra volunteers to try and play with us.
Okay.
I can talk about that now, but we're building the agenda now.
Yeah, building the agenda. That will make it, though.
Cool. Let's stick that in. Cool.
Any other ideas?
Maybe hackathon participations, like which ones we're doing, and did we have any ideas for them? Are we hacking them, or are we just going?
Yeah, that's, I've got some stuff on that as well.
I would like to chat a little, like maybe give some short update on the stuff I just updated you on, especially concerning new funding streams for Giveth. I just uncovered something I just want to talk shortly about.
Okay. Well, cool. Anything else?
Anti-patterns.
What is it? Anti-pattern?
Anti-patterns. Yeah, I want to talk about anti-patterns.
Okay, nice. Okay, cool. If there's any time left, I'll talk about token bonding curves just for fun.
Yay!
I would like to push that further up the agenda. Sorry about the anti-patterns. It's just this because these are like free-form discussions, and the token bonding curve is something that we all, I'm pretty sure everybody wants to understand, and it's cool to have it on, like, we stream this. So maybe we can get I always need to get better at explaining this because it's really hard to, even now, for me to explain to people. So I would love to hear your talk on it.
Okay. Well, let's okay. Since Josh had a couple, I'll move his anti-patterns to the end, and that will be the one that if we have time. But I think that we can go through most of these pretty quickly. Josh, you want to start with triads?
Okay, Doug. So it's a novel working structure. So the analogy is music, yeah? So when you play music, you play a chord, and the chord disappears when you take your hand off the piano keys. And then you play another chord that's related to it. Often it will contain similar notes, but it will be a different chord. So triads are work structures based around that in a way. It's a musical working structure whereby you have, so if you've ever heard of paired programming before, it's a practice that contains focus on work, whereby two people are concentrating on the same thing. It's literally one person types and the other person sits as a backseat driver and talks, or does not talk, but lets the other person get on and corrects them when they go wrong, etc. And you change drivers, yeah? So that's paired programming. And triad would be an extension of that. And the reason I like triads over paired programming is because you can serendipitously form an anti-form and induct people into how things work. So you can distribute knowledge with a triad by, let's say, me and Kay have been talking about this triad stuff now, so we might have a little bit of an idea. We'll bring Griff in to learn some stuff, so he'll learn with us. We'll do some work together, and if me and Kay start talking about all kinds of weird stuff that has no relevance to the triads, Griff will go, hey, I'm here to learn about triads. Can you guys get back on focus, etc. So you have a balancing force within that. Now, let's say we want to scale the triad. We can either kick somebody out that already knows the pattern to go and start maybe forming another chord somewhere else, or a triad. So you get this kind of musical play that allows you to minimize the Tower of Knowledge problem by diffusing knowledge sharing amongst participants. So I'd really like to try that pattern. If people would like to come experiment, we can all focus on the same work together.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I know what Kai and Jeff, or what Jeff has been working on. I kind of actually suggested Kai and you and Daft Lion, or whoever else wants to like dive into learning simulations. Like that seems like a triad type tool or opportunity.
Yeah, and Michael gave me that kind of flash of how we could use it as well, because previously in our last community meeting, he suggested that maybe 3 people sign off on DApp stuff rather than just the one Griff who knows where we're going, which is totally a good idea because it decentralizes the decision making. But then at the same time, who knows the project better than Griff? So if we swap, Griff for Josh, you're going to have really suboptimal results because Josh doesn't have a clue what's going on. Thus, having 3 people kind of balancing what they think Giveth is becomes an unblocking factor for sign-offs if needed. But, you could apply that pattern all over the place for various things. So it's something I'd like to run with.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's cool. Anyone else have comments on Triad?
Yeah, I want to react. So I think we will... The first triad is starting now, like the whole GovLab thing. The first one was like crazy busy. There were 10 people. So at the last one, there were 3, and we actually got stuff rolling better than before. Especially this dreaded governance documentation thing that's like always bothering us at the role meeting. We can. This is a good thing to try out here. I feel like Josh knows more the in and outs of how we can work with it and how we can scale it, and this whatever the mechanics around changing people up, or even to know what triads are on, or whatever. But I feel like this is a bit in contrast. Like it's for sure opt-in, but there's 2 types of people basically, like in Giveth, and like the first type is people that strictly want to work alone. A good example is RJ, for example. He really likes to put his work alone into his work. And I'm like of a mix. I like to work alone, but there is often I really like the ping pong, and it's very hard though to get actual work done, while talking. Like it shouldn't be a meeting; it should be a work session. So it's very interesting to me that with the triad we could because there is some people, especially ones that are new to the community, and especially ones that feel a need for social interaction while working. That this might be phases, like at some point I might be, I can do this on my own, I don't need any help or whatever. Rather need to, be mindful of my upstream, that like the info I produce gets out somehow, but that's it. And with the triad, we could say, hey, if you are more socially inclined or whatever, you don't want to work alone, you feel like you want human contact now, or you want more eyes, whatever, it's a great pattern, I think. And it will be started in GovLab, and of course, Griff, take it and run with it. I think it's especially great for knowledge sharing with the new economy models. You guys.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone else got a comment on triads?
Not so far. It's the first I've heard of it, so I'm just finding it interesting.
Oh, Josh, can you please share this crazy Northian forest thing just to like rabbit hole those guys a little, if you have the time or not? You don't have the time, of course, but Strangely.
It's always fun. Shared in the notes. That's a good primer on it, but I think it can also be adapted. And also, what's interesting is in Pillar, the advice process was a 7-people thing, which would fit another magic number for me. So 3 being the safe to fail, 7 being the larger needs consent kind of thing. So I think that the 2 structures are good to balance each other. And I think as an analogy, you can have chords made up of extra notes than 3 as well. So the larger advice process can still fit into the music analogy.
Very cool. Sticking that link in the notes. And well, let's keep this party going. I think triads are really cool, and I'll definitely I think it would be a nice pattern to start integrating people into. But let's check out our hackathon participation. Did Bowen, you presented this, but maybe can I run with it?
Absolutely, please do. Because there was more. I want to put like the list together for. Well, the ulterior motive here is that I wanted to add a new command to the Giveth bot, which is a calendar function. So it'll tell people these are the things that are upcoming. And in this case, I wanted to do it for like hackathons and stuff for social coding. So please take it away. So that
yeah. Well, so Eth Denver is the next one. I mean, there's like a mini one at Oregon. It's very small, and I don't know that it's really worth mentioning because it's really focused on but DAppNode will be working on it a little bit, and some Oregon DAC guys will be working on it. It's really focused on like some core Oregon infrastructure. But then the real big one is, of course, Eth Denver, and that one, I think, I'm not even sure. I keep forgetting I need to send them an email. But I'm pretty sure I'm like a judge in it. But I'll be probably shilling the token bonding curves as a team or some kind of token bonding curve project as a team. And then after at Denver, there is another hackathon in Paris after FCC, so that will be fun. It's just another F Global event, and that's so I think that's like May. I want to say 7th, 8th, 9th, something like that. And then the next month there's Odyssey on the what is it like the 11th to 15th?
And so is that April?
Yeah, that's April.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were talking dates on February because that'd be the 4th to the 9th. But yeah, you're probably right. I don't know about the actual dates.
Is the 4th to the 9th? Is that an actual hackathon?
No, it's the deep dives. It's where the teams are being socialized together to form.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess that is worth noting, though, and I'm pretty sure Jeff is going to go to that as well. So I hope Josh, you and Jeff can kind of hook up and hang out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then that hackathon is the 11th through the 15th, and then right after that is Eth Cape Town, which is I think the 17th to the 22nd or something around there. And who knows what's after that, right? I wouldn't be surprised if there's one in May because there seems to be at least one a month. But those are all the ones I know about coming up. And I definitely want to try each one to at least present the idea of working on these token bonding curves and curation market, the Curry model, as we call it.
There is this one thing, I'm not sure if it's, so one thing for Bowen, it's all in the Giveth calendar, like all those events. So you don't have to actually search for the things. What is still missing from the calendar, I think, let me have a check, is it's unblocked in there. It's not a hackathon though, I think.
Is that the thing in Vienna?
Yes, I will just add it to the hackathon, add to the Giveth calendar. Do you know if you can come, Griff? You are really requested from a lot of angles. Seems.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident I should be able to come.
Awesome. Because that's, I mean, it's just because it's in Vienna, it's kind of a big deal for me, maybe. It would be great for connections. And it is, so I'll just post like here in the notes or in the chat. That's the website. And we are, if somebody's interested in coming, please drop me a line. I don't even know how you get to be part of the conference, but we have like a private contact, so we just ask, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty heavy conference spring, it seems. Actually, there's another conference Michael is running in Toronto, I think on the 22nd. Or sorry, Montreal. I can't remember if it's in Montreal or Toronto, actually.
Oh, I know that lady. At the Unblocked thing case, Sherman Voschmiger, she was doing Nature 2.0 in Berlin.
Sherman, yeah.
Oh yeah, this is the contact, our personal contact we have actually. It's good to show. So she's the woman. I have seen her on the news, you know. I think she is heading the crypto economics program of the University of Economics in Vienna. And so this is a new part of the university, and it is their first big coming out event, I think, to really popularize this and get some academic research started. And I would love for you to be there. Like, if you can come, it's a bit close to nature, to the Odyssey thing, but if you can come, yeah, I can host you or whatever, find your place. It would be awesome.
Are you talking to me, Griff? I'd love to come to Vienna, personally.
Yeah,
Griff is already invited. I want to get you here as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident I'll be there. There's yeah, I don't know why I wouldn't. I just, you know, I should make sure Lorelei doesn't have other plans, but my Europe time is reset, so I should be good.
There's plenty of stuff. If she doesn't want to come to the conference and wants to travel with you, there's lots of stuff we can do for her. I think it's only one day also.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, come on, she wants to see the baby.
Yeah, you will see her in soon, a few days, in Barcelona.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there any? Man, there are so many events coming up. I'm so glad Eth Austin didn't end up happening. Yeah, because Archon really should be, if we're going like this, Archon should be mentioned, and Michael's. I'm surprised Michael hasn't been promoting his thing a little bit more. So yeah, I think that gets us through April. Anything else, Bowen, on that?
That's basically that about does it. So I guess what I'll do for now is find out from social coding people who's going to be able to be at what, and just kind of promote us having a social coding presence at these things.
There is even I just want to point out, I don't know if you were part of the meeting, Bowen, but Michael expressed strong interest in decentralized hackathons when we told him about Blockchainship. And so I guess it's up to whoever wants to start it, but just saying like maybe you should consider you might want to have another Blockchainship this year, but you should make your mind up about that.
So what my plan was to figure out how to do that was to pay close attention to what happens at Denver, because I haven't been to one yet in real life, let alone I was not a part of the Blockchainship when it happened. I was only brought in the 11th hour to try and solve the who won problem. So I kind of wanted to like have the experience of doing one before I tried to put one on, but I like the idea of the decentralized hackathon for sure.
It is even becoming a very popular concept, so it should be, I think they documented it last time, but it's something we can export.
Okay, excellent.
Okay. Well, let's keep pushing forward. Although, like, yeah.
Sorry, Griff. Before we move on from that, can I just ask the question? Since we've got a nice list, we need to tackle the agenda. Yeah. So, so I'm just wondering, do we have any links to these different events? Because the previous one we were talking about, you know, seed group in you can probably form a seed group at Aracon, but then there was, you know, Paris, and then there was ETH Denver, or vice versa, and then there was Odyssey. And I'm just wondering how we're forming teams. Have we got a process or a pattern to form teams with?
For the hackathons, you mean?
Yes.
I think each hackathon kind of has their own method of forming teams. At Denver has like a speed dating thing or something set up. The Eth Global events usually have like a point at the beginning where people can kind of pitch ideas, and other people who don't have teams set up in advance can listen. So, but I think it depends on the hackathon. It sounds like Odyssey is doing this thing in February, right?
Yeah. So, like the reason I ask is because obviously I'll probably see you guys at Aracon next week, but I'm just trying to kind of get team formation in head before charging through the next few months, kind of thing. So, ideally, we want to hack the shit out of our Giveth platform so that we build a curation DAO of Jeff's flavors and probably some more bits and bobs. So is there any way of identifying what we can do and then who we can get involved so that we get the job done?
Yeah, I mean, I think, let me just say, I think part of the joy of this is finding people that might not know us and we don't know them, and maybe they like jump in, and maybe they even, you know, it's almost like a recruiting opportunity. But we definitely need more devs. So,
for instance, there's the BlockPass fella. He's a PhD student in Napier University with Bill, who teaches, like, I forget his second name, but he's well famous for teaching cryptography. But he's volunteering for any old team that he can be put on. So I can either direct him to a team.
Did he say he works for BlockPass?
He's one of their PhD students, so he's getting paid $15K a year to buy BlockPass to do a PhD in Napier University.
Well, that's awesome. I'm working with BlockPass on a different project.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, you should really talk to Will then.
Yeah, definitely. I think I started writing in that Lumio and got distracted and never finished.
That's cool. But yeah, it's just kind of like those bits and bobs. Like, obviously, I'd like to direct them to people putting their hands up saying, yes, I'd like to help. I want to take that bun, as Kay puts it.
It's I just wanted to chime in a little because I only was participating in one hackathon, but it's like in the Stardust one before DEF CON. But I was the project manager, so it was my thing. And I just want to, like, my takeaways were I had 3 people when going there, and knowing a lot of the Ethereum crowd on the spot, I recruited, like, and those were amazing guys, just like recruited on the floor, another 3. And it seemed to me that really the managing role itself is the most important, because you have, like, it's usually with developers, like if you give somebody a feature to develop, they just run with it, you know. And then the most important thing is to get stuff going and flowing, from my perspective. And like, this can be quite a challenge. And this is also something you can prepare really well, because I think it is cool to code before, but I do think preparation might be necessary. Otherwise, like most other teams I saw were actually 2 people or triads, because if you go further than that, you need this like of kind of management that we do in GitHub usually, just in real life. And you even on a hackathon, you work in GitHub, so it's like that felt like a important thing, and should be wisely chosen. If we might even, maybe this would be something for Griff even too.
Yeah, that's definitely what I'm hoping we can work out, but we'll see.
Cool. No,
this is the
I was just saying thanks. I wasn't trying to. Yeah, I know it's kind of up in the air. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll learn a lot from trying it in Denver, and the big question is, like, there's so many pieces and parts of this model. We can kind of like take one piece and work on it, depending on who we have. Whether if all of a sudden all we have are designers, no devs, then we can build like maybe if we can just get one front end person, we can. Or maybe not. Maybe we just build it all on Figma, and that's all it is. That would work. Or, you know, maybe we'll end up with Solidity people, and they want to try to put together a token bonding curve. You know, like we can work with whatever people we get and kind of like attack one portion of this very large project. But yeah,
so my intent at the Odyssey thing is to literally collect multiple teams, but in order to have multiple teams working on a singular project, they kind of like having a specific part for each team that can follow a track would be the ideal thing. So maybe instead we can take this offline, and you, me, and Kay at some point can work out pieces or chunks that are possible to hack on. And then when we come across the right people, we have something to go, here's what we need done. And we can get them to form with other teams and all that.
I think too, like, I think this is not, you know, we don't have enough experience yet. So I'm with Griff there that jumping in like cold water, and it's like, and hackathon, doing hackathon after hackathon is also in my mind the best idea to approach this. And if we follow like an iterative process, or like that's maybe the question, are we trying to tackle a different piece every time? Do we try to make like a cohesive whole? It's just the cohesive whole is very hard, and because also your team will change all the time. But it's valid as well. It might be not valid for the goals of the hackathon, because usually you go there is like tracks that you can you know, participate in. You can always send whatever to the hackathon, but then it happens what happened to us, like nobody knew where to put even what we did. So it's but, you know, having said that, the greatest part of the experience was actually doing the thing, finishing some piece of software, and it was highly rewarding in any case, and you learn a lot. But just because Griff is very limited, has very limited time, I just wanted to say, with our online tools and our big community, we can always escalate. So if you have no designers, but you need you need to have a front end. You can say, hey guys, starting a hackathon, we have this and this and this. We started a Figma. If you want to collab on it, jump into Figma.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the nice thing, is that we have a larger community to pull somebody from. If we have a desperate thing, we can just be like, oh my God, we really need X, who wants to jump in. But yeah, I want to make sure we have time for the last couple of pieces. So we should probably move on to new funding streams and updates. Kai?
So, yeah, I mean, it might be I don't know if we ever talked about this. I don't think so. So I was like rabbit holing hard with some stuff Josh sent me. That sounds dirty, and maybe it is. So I found this. Have you heard of CoBudget? Anyone?
Yeah, for sure.
You did? Nice. Why didn't you tell us? This is perfect. It is by those guys. Oh yeah. So you're in and outs, but just for the other guys. Where's the link? Well, it's by and Spiral, which is really. I mean, Josh said they might be there next week at Aracon. I hope they are, because they just look like a lovely bunch, and I feel so aligned here. It's really cool with like the way they want to work and what they work on. It's just they do this for a much longer time than we do, and they have a very solid model, it seems, where they can spin up stuff. Like one of the things we really like to use is Lumio, and I found CoBudget as well. So. But while looking through CoBudget, the interesting thing was actually, like, if we look at their pricing here, the free thing is actually okay. It's kind of like, okay, you have to, you can only try it for some time, then it will get stale. But this is actually the only one where you can pay like a normal customer that has no contact is like medium, and the higher level is actually, or if you look at what you get for your money, you will see that it goes more and more into consulting and support and facilitation. And I think one of the great outcomes of this whole, I call it the unicorn blueprint. It can be the DAC handbook. You can call it whatever. I call it the unicorn blueprint. But with that kind of stuff and with our experience, we could offer something like they do here in services, which is make like go into consultancy ourselves once we get more hardened and we are not as much in experiment mode as we are. Because I feel like we did agree on a lot of stuff that allows us to have a framework for people to orient themselves on and work with it. And it's also something that could be a good out for a good thing for the more socially minded people and communicators. Yeah, it's just something I wanted to bring up, because we were always talking about funding, and it's usually concerning donations, and I think this could be a great thing where we actually do some work, could get even more partners, help somebody. I don't know if it would catch on, but there's a different drift. Like these are general services. They are for, if you look at this, and this is actually what I think is very interesting, it is about organizations that want to experiment with collaborative resource allocation and distributed processes and such. That might be, more conventional startups, or actually like mid-size, already established companies. And for them, it's very hard, and they need more here. But from all my talks, crypto teams have a lot of organizational and knowledge depth in those fields. Like they are all interested in how can you scale your team globally, how can you scale workloads to be asynchronous, you know, and this kind of stuff. So just wanted to put that out. It was a long speech.
No, that's great. I think consulting is definitely a path forward that we can take. I mean, it's tough because we have this thing where everybody's an individual, so they can kind of do moonlighting on the side. So in a way, we're training people to do consulting, but to pay themselves. And we would have to really form some kind of group around that concept, you know, because, you know, people could just do. Now, if we need more of a team consulting thing, then it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, this would be a different branch for Giveth. It's just I've reading all those handbooks, you know. All those handbooks, or usually those handbooks, are written by business models that are likely to adopt a more open, non-hierarchical, decentralized, asynchronous structure are in the field of consultancy, and like 90% or more are in the field of custom software development. So, and it always becomes this integrated thing. And the thing is with something like this is that we would also need to construct this process, of course, and we would probably need more help and experience with this kind of thing, because like maybe from a consultant, maybe we pick one up down the line, I don't know. But I do feel that this could be a great service targeted for, because we have many contacts in the crypto sphere, crypto people. And, you know, down the line, it's also about the DACs themselves. Like once we have more onboarded and people, it's more like organizations that come or are formed and not as much like singular people.
Yeah. I mean, this was the business model for the Argon DAC as well, is to like onboard people and become kind of a concierge service of like, we will build a DAO for you, right? And with Giveth, it's the same thing. We'll build a DAC for you. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely worth looking into eventually. You know, we're building all the tools for it, like you said, the handbooks and the documentation effort that you guys are putting in the wiki is like, you know, setting us up for this kind of thing. Maybe one day we'll end up with a Inspiral person. They're very aligned with us, and Kai, you might have met Phoebe that was hanging out with Vinay. She works for Inspiral at Burning Man, you know. And there's also a girl in Barcelona that we're connected with who works for Inspiral.
Oh, and nice. I want to meet her when I'm there next time. They could like really jumpstart us into this. I would like to know how they do it, how they attract like their clients and such. It's just, I just wanted to have like, or find something that we could, you know, after all our work, something that might get money back into like the DAC. Because like if you think of a model where we are professional enough to charge a real consultancy fee, that would be probably part of that fee could go back to the DAC again, maybe fund Unicorn DAC, you know, and like, yeah, you're better at this than me.
No, but that's exactly it. It goes into the Unicorn DAC, and then it funds whatever projects we need. Okay, well, there's 4 minutes left in this meeting. Maybe we can go over a little bit. I want to give a chance for Gustavo if there's anything you want to bring in to this thing, or, you know, since you're just hanging out. This is kind of a weird meeting. We usually have like a very formal structure, but there were no topics, so.
This is actually the second Giveth meeting that I attend, and Yeah, I got the same feeling, the same feedback. The first one was the Go Lab a couple of weeks ago. It was like a total experimental meeting, and it was similar. To be honest, I have no much to add here. Grief. I was a little bit lost about the last point that Kay was explaining about that page in CodeBudget. If I understood well, you are looking like for some kind of new collaboration tools or something like that, and I'm not entirely sure why it will be worth to go to that kind of payment tools in my experience. Yeah, the only added value that you could have for that is directly assistance, for, let's say, from the teams in those tools. But it may be worth to have a try, but with the free version. But I don't know. I think that's open tools and free stuff are usually better.
Yeah, totally. Not just the other way around. I was discovering the tool and then was discovering how they make actually most of their revenue, not from the tool, but by instructing organizations to become more open, non-hierarchical, asynchronous and such. So they offer consulting next to the software. It's just, we kind of have a software like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I got. And as per the hackathon part, just to let you know that I'm very close to different communities here in Spain. If you are willing to attract some talent and invite some people, maybe I can reach you guys to some of these communities and see if there are interesting people in participating in these activities. Maybe I can help them.
Where in Spain are you?
Someone say something? Sorry?
Yeah, where in Spain exactly are you?
I'm in Madrid.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was just saying, Gustav, I've put it in the chat. If you could have a look at the Odyssey hack and share with them, that would be amazing. All the details are condensed in that one thread, so it's handy.
Yeah, I have that in front of me. The hack MD, you mean? Or not?
No, down the last link now, just added.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Nice. Okay, well, I'm going to go into token bonding curves. Does anyone need to run away?
Unfortunately, I have to. Did you hear the thing about the phone call I got from the lawyer? I have to go address that. But I will fast forward the hour one in the YouTube.
Okay, thanks,
You are
Bon.
a hero, Gordon.
All right. Well, it was a good meeting, guys, and I will talk to you later on today.
See you, buddy.
One love.
So, okay, I'll give a quick overview of the Curry model, and then focus more on token bonding curves and the real point of it all. And then maybe we'll just go into Q&A really quick, but it should just take a couple of minutes to do the overview. So the goal of this whole project, the Curry model, is to find a way to create currencies that support the commons. It's kind of like the magic of cryptocurrency in general is you have this way to create an economy around that incentivizes a specific human behavior. So for Bitcoin, Bitcoin is created and it incentivizes humans to run software program that supports the Bitcoin network. And then other people use that idea and spawned off other projects that incentivize humans to support a different commons. Like Namecoin is decentralized DNS, and CureCoin helps fold and unfold proteins for cancer research. PrimeCoin helps gets people to guess prime numbers. And all of this, all of those were kickstarted without any national capital. It is really just an economy that is spun up, and all of a sudden a common good for humanity is created because of this incentive alignment. And that's the goal of the Curry model, and in general, that's part of the larger goal of Giveth, is to realign incentives around, these tragedy of the commons issues, whether it's Ethereum infrastructure or ending homelessness or any of these, or like protecting the rainforest. All of these causes can be benefited by this general goal, which is how do we realign incentives in these broken systems, in the broken system of charity, right? And in government in general, because that's what governments do most of all, is they, support the commons by taxing, and this is an alternative method to support the commons via incentive alignment. So the first step is, well, at least for the Curry model, right? This is one specific style that we can try to practice with for the next year or so until another one comes around, right? So it's going to be a long experiment, but this first experiment, the idea is that you create a token that is not like, it's not an ICO. It's actually a smart contract that people send Ether into and get tokens. But when they receive tokens are, so let's use a specific example. The one that we use most is cleaning Thai beaches. So if there's this group called Trash Hero that if they wanted to use the Curry model, they'd create a smart contract that says when someone sends 1 Ether in, they receive 800 Trash Hero coins, but also 200 Trash Hero coins are created for a DAO. And these tokens can be then redeemed for the Ether that is in the smart contract. So the Ether doesn't go anywhere. The Ether stays in the smart contract, or what's probably a better use case would be DAI. So DAI, a stable coin, would stay in the smart contract, and the tokens themselves would be used for 2 purposes: for governance and also to incentivize people to perform actions, right? So when people buy in, the price is determined by the token contract. And the token contract, this token bonding curve contract, can have various variables that change the price. The most obvious variable is the token supply. So when the token supply goes up, as more people buy in than sell, then the price of the token also goes up. So people are actually incentivized to tell everyone else that, hey, I just bought into this thing, and if other people buy in, then my token value will go up. So I want, then this incentivizes people, the original donors, who are also kind of like community members, but also kind of investors, to tell everyone, hey, make sure you come and buy this thing. It's a good value right now. And but another variable is, and the more important variable is actually how much money does the DAO have? What is the value of the tokens they have in their control? Because the real goal of this model is to create a continuous funding model for a common good. In this case, Thai beaches, cleaning Thai beaches. And that with our design, if we use block science and we really practice on and do a lot of simulations, we can actually design the token bonding curve to have, after its initial startup phase, to have a model where 95% of the time, the funding in this DAO will stay between, you know, a lower bound and an upper bound. For cleaning Thai beaches, maybe it's like, you know, it's a general operating capital should always be above $75,000 and always be below $500,000. We don't need more than $500,000 at any given time in this DAO. And so what this will do is it will say when there is not enough, when there's a lot of money in the DAO, the price of the token won't actually go up that much if more people buy in. So this is where it's very different than a Ponzi scheme. The Ponzi scheme is a specific type of token bonding curve where the price will always go up as long as people keep buying in. So that bonding curve kind of looks like a giant slope up, right? Kind of half of a parabola, right? So it just goes exponentially up. What we're actually looking at is creating a curve that looks more like a sigmoid, where it goes, it starts like a parabola, but then it's like the other half is flipped on top, and then it starts asymptoting out at a certain height. And this is the price of the token versus the supply. And of course, because now we're talking about two variables, it would actually be a plane. It would be a 3D object. And there are other variables that we would want to add in as well, like a locking time. You know, when someone buys in, they can't sell back their token right away. It's an altruistic investment, right? So they can only sell back their token if they've held it for 2 months and participating in governance. And there's other ideas too, like maybe every person who buys in should have a cap at how much profit they can make, period. Because this is not about, it's really about incentivizing donations, not about like making 10x on your investment. So there's various options for customizing these things, but to keep it simple, it's really just finding incentive alignment for people to donate. But we always got to remember that this is still a donation, because the people who put money in, they will end up only receiving, you know, a percentage of tokens. That if you buy 1 Ether worth of tokens, or if you send 1 Ether in, you get less than 1 Ether worth of tokens in that moment. So yeah, and in the Curry model, we're hoping to have like this curation curation market type DAO with what we call conviction voting. And I don't know if I want to get into that can of worms, because I wanted to focus mostly on the token bonding curve spot. But that's the general overview. Do you guys have any questions?
I think that was a bloody explanation. Bloody great explanation.
I have a very short question. Is Curry an acronym, or?
Can you say that again?
Why is it Curry? Is Curry an acronym?
Curry, it's a token bonding curve and the curation market. So they both have the cur in it. And then it's Curry because we're in Thailand right now, and this is where we're pushing it forward. And it was actually you know, first with this Trash Hero coin in Thailand, and so it just kind of has this like Curry theme. But we're actually not 100% sold on the name.
I love the name, man. I was just like, the next question would be like to if it's not an acronym, we can make it one, and I would just keep searching. So it sounds very smart, but I think it's probably I take it with me. I remember it from the first time I hear it, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I have a tricky question here. Well, first of all, I have to say that this is a new concept for me. Okay, but when we're talking about the commons and maybe to prove that case, wouldn't be better or maybe easier to look for some kind of common that which asset itself is offering the possibility of having some kind of revenue model. I mean, you were talking here about cleaning up Thai beaches, okay, which is, of course, I mean, you're creating benefit for the society, for the people there, but maybe that's too much, let's say, intangible, let's say, for creating. You are creating value, of course. I am not saying that you are not, but maybe to prove that kind of use case, try to start experimenting with some other kind of good where the value can be more easily quantified. Not sure if you're getting my if I'm making my point clear here.
Do you have an example?
Yeah, I was thinking about the example, but I don't know. Let's say an auto. Let's say not talking about beaches, but some kind of abandoned atoll in Thailand that you got the permits of the mayor to give it to the people there. No, and that hotel, that building will be common to a limited group of persons. I don't know how many, but of course to all that kind of persons that will bring value in fixing that hotel, in making it up better. No, and you know that after you have all these kind of people and you will be incentivizing working for that hotel, not with money but with tokens that you are creating according to the effort that they apply to fixing that hotel. But then you have the possibility to monetize all the work that these people did, okay, with external incomes, because you will have tourists paying for accommodating themselves in that hotel, and then based on that to make a better distribution of the model. So in this case, you're also like bringing to the token a collateral value that will be bringing by people paying for staying there.
Yeah, so that's actually something that will likely come later. There's a lot of value in being able to work discreetly in a way where it's like, one of the Giveth approaches is that, we want to avoid legal structures. And there is an issue here where we are creating a token that's backed by an asset and might go up in value. And that could trigger, the kind of like scrutiny of organizations, like regulatory organizations. And so if you create something for like a business type purpose that is much more high profile than if you're trying to clean up beaches using this experimental, decentralized tool, it's not likely to be the target of the SEC to make a statement, so, but like the DAO, that was like a venture capital fund that also would raise a lot of money, which is another thing that, for the first couple ones of these, we would try to keep it small. And, we're not going to talk to any lawyers. So like, because they would just tell us not to do it. So like, there's a lot of strategic purpose in testing these models with charity, and and also that is more of like our game in general is how do we support the stuff that doesn't have a business model?
Yeah. No, I understand that. The point was just not from the business point of view, but more focused on the sustainability point of view. I mean,
well, and that's what we hope can be discovered, right? Like, this is why it's so important that like there is value being created for the people when we clean garbage up off the beach.
mm-hmm.
It's just hard to capture. But maybe, if we can create a DAO that has some sort of sustainable funding model, eventually that DAO will die. Like the cool thing about this model is it does have this this strategy of a death, like for the DAO, right? If the DAO, that's the Trash Hero Coins DAO, ends up finding a sustainable model for keeping the beaches clean. Maybe it's just like somehow they build a community of the restaurants and other businesses that are on the beach that that have like their own self-imposed tax or something, and that DAO isn't needed anymore. It has an actual way to die and not be funded anymore. Because if the problem is solved, why would people donate to solve that problem, right?
Right.
And so this is whereas the current charity model, the system is such that the corporates that end up forming have to stay alive, and so they, there is no like clear path for them to stop living. And so they never actually want to solve the problem, because if they solve the problem, they would die.
Yeah.
Which is which really sucks. It's a broken incentive structure. There's good people stuck in it, but and they're all trying to do good work, but they're working within a broken system, a flawed system. And so yeah.
I have another question. So, I mean, with all those parameters, and of course we need to run the simulations and such, but if I explain this concept to somebody who's interested in impact investment, what do you think, like, what are the chances of, or how are the chances laid out in your mind for getting more than I put in back? Or is that not at all part of the model? Is it because it becomes...
No,
you can't.
it is. It's definitely part of the model. Like the basic thing is like I imagine for the donors or the people that want to fund the projects or buy tokens or however we're going to frame it, they would actually just see a website where the first thing that they can go to a website where they can see, like, put in different scenarios. Like you could have at the top of the website, like the expected the expected amounts of tokens in this DAO are between 50,000 and 500,000, right? And so then they can put different amounts of money that the DAO holds in one box, and they could put in the token supply in another box, and they could get kicked out of price. And so, and maybe we can even like run some sort of algorithm that estimates, like, is it a good time to buy in? Where is it on the curve compared to like where it should be, and give people this information that would be generated by the simulations, but in the end, it's still always dependent. It's like any other investment. If you invest in a shitty group of people that are not solving the problem, then they're probably gonna lose money. Whereas if instead they like the goal would be that there's lots of people using this model, and it's almost like a free market on which system should I, which governance system do I want to support to solve this tragedy of the commons issue, and they can, you know, if they pick right, then when someone's in a time of need and support them, then they'll make money, and if they pick wrong, then they'll lose money. You know,
that sounds awesome. Yeah. This is a new information with like to even offer a forecast. I think that's pretty awesome.
And it should be awesome. It should be pretty easy. The goal is if we do these simulations, then we will have like and we can, you know, iterate off the simulations. Then we can have like you know, a set area that people should be. I mean, there's always going to be like it's really following almost the venture capital model, where there's the seed investors who, if this project succeeds, make a lot more money than the next stage investors, than the next stage investors. And late stage investors, you know, it's just like a stock at that point, and it could go up, it could go down. And but what's different than a stock is that you have these, you kind of have these bounds that it's likely to stay within.
And in another way, it's kind of like, it's not so much different than opening a CDP. I'm trying to think of the real difference, because it's kind of like, I mean, the collateral doesn't stay the same.
It's exactly that. Yeah, that's a good model.
Yeah, it is very similar to opening a CDP. Except you can't get liquidated.
Yeah, which makes it better than a CDP, and also you kind of fund, instead of an ominous DAO, you directly fund something you might subscribe to.
Yeah, and for the, when you buy into a token bonding, when you buy into one of these things, the first, before you can even get the tokens, I want to kind of impose that they have to participate in governance, either by delegating their vote to someone else who's voting for them, or by actually voting themselves. So like, before they can even get the token, part of the step is pick someone to be your delegate, or vote in and vote for projects. And the way this is connected to Giveth is the curate, and what's really important about this model is that the curation market will be grabbing milestones off of the Giveth platform, right? So to fund the Trash Hero people in if you want to receive fundings from this DAO, you would need to create a milestone in Giveth, and then it would then if someone wants to support that, then they can add it to the curation market. And what's really cool about this is this DAO is just one actor in an open ecosystem. So if for some reason the governance model doesn't work, if the curation market thing doesn't work in this DAO, or the people that were participating were in it only for the money and they weren't picking good projects, and other good projects were actually still, you know, were being passed up, well, they can raise money directly from donors. And if the DAO completely crashes and burns, it doesn't stop people from cleaning up beaches in Thailand, or helping homeless people in Barcelona, or whatever whatever issue people are trying to solve. They can still solve those issues by direct donations. So they're actually the people who are trying to make the world a better place are no worse off if the DAO is a complete failure.
That is a genius thing I have not heard before as well. That's fucking awesome. So the donation-based model is kind of the redundant fallback for, which is now the default. So we put just a better model on top of it, and if it all fails, you can still go the same way that you would have done before by collecting donations. Love that.
Yeah.
And it's still safe enough to pay.
Awesome.
Nice.
Cool. Well,
just one last question. There is no documentation right now as of yet, right?
there is a sort of spec that Jeff has put together. It's very rough. It's still pretty dirty. So our first I think our first experiment with this is we're kind of passing the buck to Block Science. So Block Science needs to raise funding, and so while I wanted to start small and really focus on like some really small charity that's really benign, like picking up trash in Thailand. They need funding for token research, so token engineering research. So what we're probably going to do is with Block Science create the first token bonding curve for them to fund their research and development into building this token bonding curve, right? So it gets super meta where like basically creating, and we're still in early discussions on this. There's of course a lot more questions than answers at this point, but we've kind of shelved the first idea of doing this ourselves and are more like working with Block Science so that they can do it for themselves and we can also participate in it. And so the idea would be a token bonding. It would be like a token research, token bonding curve, and DAO. And we're going to put together a white paper, and we're going to and Giveth would receive funding also from this project, right? Block Science would receive funding for the simulation work and designing it, and they'd be able to open source their projects their SimCAD tool, and then Giveth would also receive some funding to build out our application. So like this so that people can do experiments on top with Giveth. So like we could we'll see that's the big delay on this because now we're going that direction. But I think it makes sense. Like I think it'll work out really well going this way, and then we can take this model that gets really well built out by Block Science's engineers and team, and then we can experiment with it on some other more benign topics. So, and we might even start like they make the white paper and they do all these things and we work with them on it, and then we will probably even do some testing and verification with charity before they even launch their token. There's a lot of these discussions still happening, so it's still really early to guess. I have a call with Sargam tomorrow in about 7 hours. Not even, I don't know. Math is hard, but maybe it's 8 hours. So we'll talk about some of these things. And Josh says, Block Science needs funding. Yeah, Block Science has like a burn rate of something like 150K a month. And because of crypto winter, all the people that were funding their research kind of dropped out. So they're burning too much money, and he doesn't want to lose the team. So okay. They're looking for a short-term funding stream.
Okay, I know what to do. Let's see if I can help. Leave it that.
What's a car consortium? What do you mean?
So at our unconference, I met a fella that used to be a coder but now works aligning different manufacturers of cars who have seen the writing on the wall with Hyundai HDAC being advertised during the World Cup. However, they have no clue whatsoever how to get their toes into the blockchain space and want to outsource to an innovation hub. So this guy, Richard, would be our link there. So Car Consortium needs blockchain solutions, but want to see how it can help them. And unfortunately, I can explain all day, but I can't give a short demo that shows something that works to them, etc. So Richard would ideally wow those guys with a demo they're already bought into doing the thing, and then those guys would fund an external innovation lab to do blockchain stuff that helps them as well.
Okay, so this is like a connect for block science. I mean, block science is very focused on, well, on like complex token. Maybe there's like a design model that might work for them. But,
so a lot of the stuff in the blockchain space is like highly generalized at the moment. So nearly everything can be transported to another industry. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
if that can earn money by transporting something they've already done, then it might be worthwhile.
Well, definitely a connection is always nice to make.
Yeah, I'm going to ping Richard through to you, and then you guys can have a bit of a discussion. Then you can pass it on if you feel relevant.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
As per protocol.
Yeah,
as we shared this with you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we should probably end this call. We're over 30 minutes past, so you guys ready to close it out?
I'm relatively okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll start. Thank you, guys. Good meeting. A little long, but very, very interesting, especially the last part. Thanks.
Yeah,
I give it to Gus. Yes.
No, it was very interesting to be here. Hope to be more around and more active in the following weeks. And will you all be next week in Berlin? Maybe we can meet there.
Nice.
To me, that sounds really good.
Yeah, Josh?
I was just saying, yes, if Gus, you're in Aracon, it would be great to see you.
Yeah, we'll be around.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the meeting. We'll see you guys probably tomorrow.
Same back channel.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, man.